detected in reactor core. Structural integrity at 80%. Proceed to the nearest evacuation pod immediately. Warning, critical failure detected in reactor core. Structural integrity at 65. Alert, life support offline. Propulsion offline. Impact unavoidable. Proceed to the nearest evacuation.
It's been an hour since the escape pod crashed onto the RimWorld. Scorpion, the lone survivor of the crash, has just come across a small ruin while wandering the jungle. Within the ruin, we find a small ruined bed, table, and stool, stuff that's certainly better than nothing. Scorpion, much like myself, has virtually zero knowledge on bushcraft and survival. Unlike normal pawns in RimWorld, he doesn't know how to properly grow, plant, hunt, mine. He does know how to start a fire, though, so he does have me beaten there. That being said, we'll start with agriculture as our first research. But since Scorpion doesn't know how to construct a research bench, we can't actually start researching agriculture, which is a problem for another time. Anyway, let's salvage this table and chair for ourselves. As we salvage the furniture, it seems the rest of the ship is about to crash. First comes the ship reactor, and wherever it crashes, radiation will certainly follow. As you can see, anything within this ring will begin to die of radiation. It seems this tortoise and these monkeys are the first to go. Whatever the radiation doesn't kill, the subsequent fires will certainly take. But anyway, after spotting some berries, we'll have Scorpion go fetch them. While he leaves his shelter to go get said berries, the next ship crashes on the beach to the southwest of us. It's about here that I noticed these ruins just off the shore, submerged in deep water. The food itself is too deep, nothing can be done to retrieve it. That being said, though, it could still be worth looking into. The next ship chunk crashes, admittedly, a little too close for comfort. There's those fires that I mentioned earlier. In the meantime, Scorpion is making his way towards the offshore ruin to at least scavenge, hopefully something. He did walk through some of the reactor's radiation to get through here. I should have paid more attention, but so be it. The next crash occurs while we are in the process of breaking down the door. It's about now that I realize the water's too deep and all of this food here that's just waiting to be taken is going to drown and be lost without us. As for the contents of the ruin itself within, it's honestly nothing worth mentioning, nothing we can reach. After looking around for some time, I decided to drop off our loot here at this location, along some pocket of sand. Before putting down everything, Scorpion snacks on some raw insect jelly and another crash occurs. But finally, we grab what we could salvage and leave it upon this small territory. Fires at this point have almost reached our own personal ruin that we started this adventure with. By 2 p.m., the fires continue to rage on, and we'll have Scorpion continue to salvage what he can. In the meantime, we'll draft some rudimentary defenses upon this small pocket of land here. I figure it'd be a better place to stay than anywhere that's more flammable, like the rest of the jungle. I'm noticing all of these ship chunks are crashing near the reactor, and none of them, in our favor, crash on the reactor itself, unfortunately. More food crashes upon the planet, but it lands directly into the radiation zone, unfortunately. One of the crash landings is a pod of crewmates, most of which are dead on arrival. The rest are bleeding out, some with only 14 hours to live or so. They also crashed right next to the rad zone as well, and some of them are going to wander into it. We'll just have to leave them be. They are friendly to us, and there's no need to attack them, but they're not going to stay here. They don't know what they're walking into. It's just us now. It's only an hour past midnight before the next ship chunk crashes only some 20 feet away from us. There's a reason Scorpion has begun to build a fire shortly after being so rudely woken up by that crash. You see, after looking around, I spot some food from an earlier crash that still remained after the fire. Just outside the rad zone, no less. Funny enough, more food crashes, speak of the devil, but this time it's within the rad zone, so that's not ours for the taking. Another offering to the reactor. Anyway, after Scorpion completes his fire, he makes his way to whatever food he can salvage. This ship crash grazed the reactor, so hopefully it catches flame. The food itself that we were able to reach consisted of exotic milks, honey, and eggs, you know, the breakfast of champions. But beggars can't be choosers, we will gladly accept all of it. Another ship chunk crashes nearby with nutrient paste. The stuff tastes terrible and will expire almost immediately, but we'll grab as much as we can anyway. While gathering the paste, something happens. It seems Scorpion hears some strange eldritch call from afar. By the time it's 6 a.m., we get home with our food in tow. While Scorpion was resting, I continued to look around, only to find, like, the equivalent of solid gold. By that, I mean a poor quality revolver, flak pants, survival meals, and medicine. I just have to reach them before the fire does. But as soon as I notice this, another shipwreck falls much closer to us. And the crash itself is full of domesticated animals, cats mainly, all bleeding out from the impact. I could either save the cats or recover the pistol from the fire. The choice, while cold, I mean, the animals have less than 10 hours, and by the time I get to one and heal it, the rest will die. I decided to retrieve the pistol. The cats won't save us from intruders, after all. But now it's just a matter of reaching the pistol before the fires do. This RimWorld is simply unfair, and this will be the first of many difficult choices we'll have to make. Of course, more offerings to the reactor. The fire and Scorpion himself reach the pistol at about the same time, and we have to move quickly. After narrowly grabbing the revolver and the flak pants, we quickly reach for the medicine and the rest of the survival meals. We also grab some additional nutrient paste on the way back. While returning to camp, I noticed something about the crash with the cats and the rest of the domesticated animals. One of the cats is still alive, and it has 1 hour left before bleeding out. We have Scorpion move as fast as possible, and by the time he reaches the cat, it has less than an hour to live. We have to move quickly. We'll just have to move forward. If you recall, Scorpion doesn't have any research tables, nor does he have the means to make a research table. The way we research, then, is by sitting around the campfire and thinking. So, let us think. Unfortunately, this ritual is only so successful, netting us 2 out of 50 EXP needed to learn how to grow plants. We can only hope that the crashing will end soon. While looking around, I spotted another ruin full of, among other things, anima pearls. These pearls can be used to plant a unique psychic tree that more druidic types of people rely on to do some pretty cool shit. They also fetch a good price, so we'll gather the pearls at some point in time. Another ruin that I found nearby also contained all sorts of textiles, a standard quality Scar rifle, and some decent combat armor. So that armor and that rifle are going to be Scorpion's immediate next priority. Another ship chunk crashes with tons of nutrient paste, some of which is lost to the rad zone, but the rest is ours to claim. That ship chunk was way too close, admittedly. I also spot a ton of solid gold that should be worth something to someone, so we'll grab it on the way back. Luckily, no difficulties were had when acquiring the armor and the rifle itself, so to put things simply, I think we're in a pretty good place. We'll gather the rest of the textiles as much as we can and bring them back to our camp, alongside the gold as well. We're also going to take this here little smoke pop pack and a cool cowboy hat made out of dog leather. It is dog leather, but, you know, it's also a cowboy hat, so... While admiring the local terrifying fauna, Scorpion's stress has gotten to his head. The subsequent mental breakdown takes form of an eating binge. We lose total control over Scorpion while he eats and cries away the rest of the day. There's honestly nothing we can do about this. We'll just have to watch and hope that he remains safe while eating all of our food and having a mental breakdown as to the sheer gravity of how screwed he is out here in the jungle. Scorpion's mental breakdown lasts until sunrise. I found some more ruins worth salvaging instead of the blueprints. 11 hours later, after collapsing from his exhaustion, Scorpion returns from his food binge, so when he recovers, the first thing I have him do is put on that cowboy hat, which I think should help. It's about now that I realize I still haven't grabbed these anima pearls that I talked about earlier. We'll have to do that at some point. Looks like these carnivores known as raptor shrimp here are finding themselves some breakfast. Let's just say I am very thankful Scorpion has a gun now. These large carnivores are known as raptor shrimp. They kill quick and they essentially heal wounds even quicker. They can be found all over the damn jungle. This one nearly bled to death after hunting another of its own kind for food. And though it survived killing it, it did lose a lot of blood in the process, and is thus found here lying on the ground waiting for recovery. I can't stress how lucky we are that this raptor shrimp chose to hunt another of its kind rather than us. But there's only one way to make sure that possibility of it hunting us doesn't occur again. We'll kill this one and leave the body out here on the sand for now, and should any other raptor shrimp try to go hunting after us, they'll hopefully be distracted by the corpse that we left out for them as bait. As 10 AM rolls around, we'll have Scorpion perform another one of those tribal thinking sessions, just another small step towards learning how to grow our own food in the agriculture research tree. While he thinks, though, we'll gather this local butcher table from the nearby ruin for ourselves, since we can't actually create our own butcher table. Amazingly, another ship crash event occurs. Perhaps more space debris from our initial ship crash is falling towards the atmosphere. This honestly surprised me so much that I had to double-check the scenario settings here to make sure that I didn't accidentally have the ship incident, crash incident on repeat that I had set up for the scenario, but nope, that was just a 1 in a million. I've got 1,000+ hours in this damn game, and I've never noticed that before. Anyway, here's a couple other poor bastards falling out of the sky straight into the radiation zone, which I hope should be a fine offering to the great atomic one. Nuclear one? The next crash occurs almost immediately after setting down our newly reclaimed butcher table from that local salvage. The next crash occurs at about 7 p.m. It's a shame we can't build or refine any of this metal, because if we could, well, we would never have any shortage of steel ever again. As the beginning of day 5 rolls around, we'll conclude the day by setting up some barricades for ourselves around our tiny little sandbar here. Just some rudimentary wooden defenses to have our backs covered by the sea. And I can't help but think things are going to be okay. It's 3 a.m. by the time we reach this ruin, which contains a punching bag that I figured would be a nice addition to our little makeshift camp. I also took some time to grab those anima pearls, since we're already out here on the range. I grabbed the anima pearls alongside a nice sculpture that should keep us company, or at least give us something to admire to increase our spirits. One of y'all commented the idea of repairing this car wreck, which is certainly possible. It won't be our immediate goal, but mark my words, we're gonna make or repair ourselves a vehicle at least one of these days, assuming we make it. While we rest in the heat, this little bastard ferret thinks he's clever and tries to snatch our food, so we do something about it. That'll show him. The next tribal thinking session actually nets us more EXP than I thought, bringing us up to 11 out of the 50 EXP required to perform agriculture. Interestingly enough, we actually are able to create all sorts of rudimentary vehicles, though I'm choosing to avoid doing so until we reach 2 criteria. 1, we research construction, and 2, we move out of the Neolithic era. Anyway, I'm gonna let you in on the plan. So as you can see, we're surrounded by jungle. We need to get the hell out of here. It doesn't matter how much firepower we have, Scorpion is going to catch the plague or some other horrible parasite, and while we have damn near all the medicine in the world to combat it, the medicine is going to deteriorate. There is a nearby abandoned factory, which may or may not be covered in all sorts of threats, though it could also be home to more ruins to find shelter and more goods to claim for ourselves. While resting, I spot a poor quality bolt-action rifle that has just enough range to actually reach the reactor when aiming at it. By 4 a.m., we have the rifle and try to pop a couple shots at the reactor. But the rifle is in pretty terrible condition, despite Scorpion being a slightly above average shot, making it difficult to actually land a hit on. After witnessing that the bullet only did 1% damage to the reactor, which sits at 96% durability, Scorpion goes back to bed. When 6 a.m. rolls around, a friendly caravan enters our territory and is willing to trade with us. To put it simply, these traders didn't have shit for us. I basically exchanged our food for more fresh, raw vegetables that should last at least 10 days before rotting. Oh, and I also got a cool dog leather duster to match our dog leather cowboy hat that they happen to be selling. any raw meat that we possess, I decided to cook up. These cooked meals will last 4 days as opposed to the short 24 hours or so that raw meat will last. By 1 p.m., the visiting caravan has decided to leave due to extreme temperatures. It's 123 degrees Fahrenheit. I forgot to mention this earlier, but a heat wave rolled in. Luckily, Scorpion's gear allows him to withstand up to 130 degrees Fahrenheit. But this doesn't mean that Scorpion is comfortable in the heat, he's just not going to die from it. This is just another reason to leave the jungle. After gathering our food and supplies, we'll gather all that we can, follow suit with the caravan, and make our exodus from this god-awful place. Say goodbye to this whole map, it all belongs to the reactor core now. And wish Scorpion luck as we journey to the neighboring factory. It's 7 p.m. by the time we reach the ruin, which has absolutely nothing worth mentioning at all. Scorpion rested in the local ruin, then moved on to push closer towards the neighboring shrublands, away from the jungle. On day 8, we reach a friendly settlement and trade some of our gold for some of their beef jerky, which lasts basically forever. After trading with the settlement, we come across a friendly caravan alongside the road and try to trade with them as well, though, in truth, they pretty much have nothing that's of any value to us at this time. Before we're able to move on, we have to abandon some of our medicine, as increased exposure to the local polluted terrain has made Scorpion essentially a sitting duck, and the longer we stick around the pollution, the worse it'll get, hence us having to abandon some supplies. It's 10 p.m. of day 9 by the time we reach the next ruin worth exploring. This is all that ruin amounted to. Though, it's funny, for the first time, 9 days after crashing upon this RimWorld, Scorpion finally finds rest within a room that has 4 walls and a door. It doesn't have a roof, but hey, we'll take it. Rather surprisingly, after waking up, Scorpion takes it upon himself to study the local edible vegetation, which nets us a ton of research EXP, bringing us one massive step closer to unlocking the secrets of rice and potato growth. After the studying concludes, we continue our exodus from this green hell. While traveling along the road, a couple of bandits threatened to attack, lest we give them our armor. If they just asked for our gold or silver, I'd happily give it to them, but by asking for my armor, they chose war. Let us take a moment of silence for the sheer ass-whooping that's about to unfold before us. After gunning one of the bandits down to the ground, the other attempts to flee, though we can't just let her get away. The reason we can is because she has a hunting rifle, and I want it. So let's see if we could snatch that rifle for Believe it or not, both of the bandits are still alive, though bleeding out slowly. We'll tend to both of the bandits' wounds without using our medicine. They're just trying to survive like we are, and I can't blame them for trying to take some armor, although they really should have just taken our gold or silver. We trade some of our gold for pemmican within the local settlement, and then follow a friendly caravan north, closer to the lands outside of the jungle. The next settlement we trade with completely relieves us of our gold and silver. In exchange, we fetch ourselves a stallion, a chain shotgun, a field research kit strapped to our utility belt to aid with researching, and a recon helmet. Now we have a hunting rifle for long range, the SCAR for mid-range, and the chain shotgun for close range. The stallion basically increases our travel speed by 400 or 500%, and even more importantly, we are now finally outside of the jungles. After ranging for a time, we find a territory worth claiming and venture to it. As we rest in our newfound territory, a familiar trading caravan visits. These are the Sacrilege Hunters, who are part of a modded series of quests should I talk to the quest giver herself. We trade some of our silver for 2 bottles of vodka, and will avoid speaking to the quest giver for the time being. After everything Scorpion has been through, I think we finally have a place to call home. While Scorpion was distracted setting up rudimentary defenses, one of the Sacrilege Hunters was straight up beaten to death and left here. I guess this guy pissed off some other guy, so after taking the man's beer and food for ourselves, we bury him by the lake. As we bury him, a drop pod containing a pirate lands outside the mountain range. A raider, I mean, definitely went intending on trying to fight us, but it's just some 16-year-old up-and-coming pirate who's probably tasked with fighting us as part of some cruel initiation. In other words, no threat at all to us, and her stats are nothing to write home about either, so she's just another mouth to feed. We'll see what happens. Nope, looks like she isn't going anywhere anytime soon. As the day comes to an end, I realize we can plant our animal pearl that we got all the way back at day 1. And while we couldn't take all 3 of those pearls with us, we had to keep at least one with us, a relic of our crash landing upon this RimWorld. After planting the pearl, the anima tree sapling sprouts and reveals something rather interesting. So if you didn't already know, anima trees are psychic in nature. When someone meditates beside it for great deals of time, they grow closer to the psychic presence of nature itself. However, anima trees and their psychic potency are rendered nearly useless so long as inorganic structures are nearby them. All of that to say, this newly planted anima tree is already being negatively impacted due to a wooden wall, which is hidden within the mountain itself. This mountain seems to have some secrets hidden within it, waiting to be uncovered. But since Scorpion is still incapable of mining, we'll put a pin in this discovery for now, perform a tribal thinking session, and rest for the night. By the way, the reason we keep building then dismantling the palisade whenever we leave our camp is because our horse, Boa, is basically looking for any reason at all to escape the map. That's also why we go out at nighttime, so we can leave the base while Boa rests. As 2 AM rolls around, we'll have Scorpion gather some local ruins and bring them back to the base. These ruins take the form of a chess table, chair, and a pew. It seems somebody is looking out for us, because at 4 PM, a supply drop falls upon the mountain containing some premium clothes and survival meals, as well as an auto pistol. I'm not sure what I did wrong with the recording for day 16, but the footage is completely lost, only the audio remained. But no problem. I'll show you what Scorpion and I have been up to in the meantime. It's not this ancient danger, by the way. I don't know what's in this ruin, but we're not ready to find out anytime soon. Yesterday, Scorpion and I found another ruin tucked away in the side of the mountain, and have slowly been excavating and dismantling all that we can to find what's inside. After breaking through the old ancient limestone, we find a butcher table on the other side of this cave wall. But since we can't mine, Scorpion does his best 1920s paleontologist impression and uses ballistics and explosions to get through the wall. This takes the rest of the night. But at last, by 6 AM, we reach the butcher's table and bring it home. Soon after, another raider enters our territory, though this one will prepare for a time before choosing to invade us. Which is a shame because Scorpion just got food poisoning. Before the raider begins his assault, something pretty wild occurs. An emissary of the Western Republic, a powerful Roman-esque faction, has offered Scorpion a political marriage proposal. If we accept, then simply put, Scorpion's story ends here. He will no longer be in our control, and we have no other colonists to play as. As such, we will decline the Empire's offer, and anything horrible that happens going forward may have been completely avoided had we simply accepted this marriage proposal. Anyway, by the time the raider reaches us, Scorpion is in the middle of puking his brains out, just outside of camp. Then, funny enough, after puking out his lunch, he makes up what was lost by eating dinner, right in front of the man that we just shot 4 times, who is still trying to shoot us with his bow. The ultimate flex. He knows if he gets any closer, our shotgun will do the trick, so behold. I could just end things here and now, but I'm not afraid of a bow. It's kind of funny. Eventually, the man does land a single shot on us, the equivalent of a punch to our eye, which is something we'll heal from in under 6 hours. After he lands the hit, we decide to walk up to the raider and put him down. Oh, never mind, he just bled to death from the other gunshots. By 4 p.m., our stallion Boa has come down with the flu. And I don't care what anybody says, we're using the best medicine we have to treat him. You're alright, Boa. By 8 p.m., as Scorpion dismantles more of the southern mountain ruins, 2 more friendly trading caravans visit our territory. We uncover another favorable ruin in the form of an excellent quality armchair and an electric stove that needs some components to get back online. Though we don't have any electricity, we should still be able to cook with it at 50% speed, but if not, well, no problem. By the start of day 20, we trade what silver we have for some coffee and a single component to repair that electrical stove. As we rest, a pair of rabid weasels enter our land looking for blood. Luckily, the visiting trade caravan stands between them and us. I thought these traders would make quick work of these 2 rabid weasels, but this is RimWorld, anything can happen, and in this case, one of their men gets nearly mauled to death, which, I don't know, I just find that kind of funny. In the morning, Scorpion makes his way back to the ruin, though we don't surface anything worth mentioning. By the time we make it back to our camp, the remaining mercenary trader leaves us a gift in the form of some primitive weaponry. We'll gladly keep the club on us, a fine replacement for our wooden stake. Nothing of note happens on day 21, though as day 22 comes to an end, something terrifying happens. A black hive has sprouted on the outskirts of our territory. Black hive insects are genetically altered and specifically made to destroy mechanoid empires. And we are no empire. It takes nearly an hour of focused fire to put down the attacking mammoth worm that was accompanying the black hive itself. I'm just thankful there weren't even more bugs to worry about from the initial invasion. I mean, look how much effort it takes to put down a single mammoth worm. As 3 a.m. rolls around, Scorpion is already taking shots at the black hive itself. I'm gonna be honest, this entire black hive situation had me stressing, but it turns out that stress was for nothing. We got lucky this time. In the meantime, our old friends, the sacrilege hunters, have returned to our camp. In short, the caravan of the sacrilege hunters had pretty much nothing worth our time or money. And with the presence of the sacrilege hunters at our backs, however, we approach the black hive with confidence and finish gunning it down before it has a chance to reproduce. Again, we got lucky this time, but things are only going to get worse from here, sooner than some of us realize. A little past midday, another trading caravan arrives, though it takes them all the way to dinner time to actually reach our camp. This caravan is willing to take all of our extra Neolithic weapons that we've collected over the last several days. In exchange, we buy from them a classic, trusty steel hunting knife. A knife that, unknowingly, will save Scorpion's life to a degree. In the early hours of day 24, another friggin' caravan arrives, so I decided to change the AI storyteller from Cassandra Classic to Randy Random. As evening approaches and the presence of so many friendly caravaneers nearby us, I thought it would be a great time to crack open that ancient, dangerous ruin at just outside of our personal mountain range. I expected the presence of either one out of three things hidden within this ruin: mechanoids, ancient rogue colonists, or an insect hive. All three are dangerous, yet all three should be easily outran by Scorpion, and we have the safety of nearly 20 people at our backs. That's always been my trick when dealing with ancient dangers, outrunning whatever is hidden inside the ruin. With all that being said, nothing could have prepared me for what we found upon opening this ruin. This ruin was covered in entities simply referred to as flesh beasts, and they're faster than Scorpion is. One of them, immediately upon seeing Scorpion, launches a spine at him that stuns him for a second, long enough such that the rest of the flesh beasts surround Scorpion. Now, forced into melee range, Scorpion draws his newly acquired knife and fights with all that he can. As we plant our knife into the first flesh beast that draws near us, it splits and multiplies. If you look closely, gravel has also been thrown into Scorpion's eyes. The more Scorpion tries to distance himself, the more the flesh beasts continue to surround him. The more Scorpion kills, the more they multiply. Despite putting up a good fight, Scorpion's been maimed and cut to the point that he has less than 8 hours left to live. Yet they still continue their onslaught against him. Please, come on. Come on. This is crazy. Come on. Do not don't give up. Oh, fuck. Come on, he's dead. It's okay. And then, unable to run and unable to fight and unable to heal, Scorpion collapses to the ground, continuing to bleed out. He's been beaten to the point of shock and is completely out of our control, and he's incapable of healing himself. All he can do is try to crawl back to base, bleeding out in the process. We have to face it. At this rate, Scorpion is going to die. Even the visiting caravan has begun to depart. Scorpion has 6 hours left within him. Soon, with only 5 hours left to live, Scorpion loses so much blood that he can't even continue crawling along the ground. Meanwhile, the flesh beasts that attempt to attack our camp are met with the golden Mustang caravan that was in the process of leaving our camp. After 25 days of solid survival, it seems Scorpion's tale has come to an end. With only 3 hours left to live, Scorpion receives an incoming transmission. It's a message from a deserter of the Orange Empire, the Empire being the most powerful frontier faction on this RimWorld. Working with the Empire typically nets you several exclusive abilities and ranks, though this transmission we received has nothing to do with working for the Empire. This is a transmission from a deserter. The deserter reaching out to us, Maria, is being hunted by an Empire loyalty squad. If we allow her shelter, Scorpion and all who work with him will be permanently labeled as a deserter faction. We will never be able to work with the Empire ever again, and will be hunted by them. With all that being said, Maria would be our ticket into the deserter underworld. But, more importantly, Maria is Scorpion's only hope of survival. As Scorpion's consciousness fades from his body, and with only mere hours left to live, we will allow Maria shelter in hopes that she can save Scorpion. Maria enters our territory not too far from Scorpion, and she's also a decent medic. The part that does terrify me is the fact that she has the slowpoke trait. She's going to take her time reaching Scorpion. As Maria joins, the game is ready for us to name our factions, but I won't lie, I'm more focused on Scorpion's survival rather than whatever we name our deserter faction, so our faction will be called Lake Mountain, and this settlement will be called Home Camp. I don't know, we can change it later, I think. As Maria reaches Scorpion, the remaining flesh beasts are thankfully gunned down by the trade caravan that was leaving our territory. Scorpion has 2 hours left of life within him. Just as Maria nears Scorpion, the loyalty squad hunting her has arrived. Yet, to my absolute amazement, they immediately engage with the trade caravan that was visiting our camp. This might be the distraction we need to save Scorpion's life. With only an hour left to live, Maria begins tending to Scorpion as fast as she can, all while the trade caravan holds off the loyalty squad. Let it be known that every single member of that caravan that loses their life from this firefight will be granted a peaceful burial by our lake. Soon Maria's field work brings Scorpion 2 more hours of life, which continues to increase. Also, I was freaking out this entire time. I can hardly believe it. Oh my god. Scorpion might actually live. That's crazy. That's good. Sorry, I'm also watching Dexter in the background, but oh my god. Eventually, Maria stabilizes Scorpion, though he has lost nearly all the blood in his body. Soon the firefight ends, the loyalty squad has been driven away, for now at least. Though they will be back, and when they return, God have mercy on us. After dragging Scorpion into the ancient, once dangerous ruin, Maria uses what medicine remained on Scorpion when he fell and feeds him to stave off his malnutrition. She then gathers all of Scorpion's gear and makes the slow journey of bringing Scorpion home. We do come across a member of the Hastia caravan, the name of the caravan that fought off the loyalty squad and partially aided in saving Scorpion's life. Unfortunately, his wounds are too grievous, and his death brings chills down Maria's spine, who is in the process of trying to save him. Unlike Scorpion, Maria isn't used to so much death and carnage, which will continue to negatively impact her mind. But grim reality won't be enough to stop Maria from attempting to save the sole survivor of the Loyalty Squad firefight, a man named Hernan, another friendly Hastian. Yet we're not out of the woods yet. It seems all of our firepower, perhaps the overwhelming scent of blood, has attracted hungry, feral insectoids to our territory. They're primarily looking for any kind of food they can get a hold of, living humans if need be. Luckily, Hernan, though still bleeding, has plenty of life within him. He'll have to hang tight for now, as an exhausted Maria, with Scorpion's firepower on her side, will have to engage these insects alone. But not before this friggin' honey badger hunts Maria down for food as she takes position. The honey badger does manage to bite Maria's leg enough to cause bleeding, making her even slower than she already is. Still, we need her to move into position to attack the insects. Half of the insects ignore Maria and walk straight into our camp, though they ignore Scorpion and Boa. It seems what little food we do have in our reserve will be what saves both Scorpion and Boa's life. And there's that knife coming in clutch again. Imagine if we stuck with that stone club that Scorpion used to carry around. After cutting down the insects and patching herself up, Maria enters her new home, feeds the unconscious scorpion, and promptly collapses. In the morning, Maria brings Hernan, the starving Hastian, back to camp for food and medicine. As Maria and Hernan reach camp, Scorpion regains consciousness. He relights the fireplace, and he finds some solace within the lake itself. Scorpion, after being mauled nearly to death, has survived. Also, shout out to Boa, who's a very good boa. Boa could have wandered into the danger zone at any point, yet it's now, during this period of calm, that he decides to be a little shit and wander outside of our camp. A still healing Scorpion, after gathering a handful of food and weaponry from the field of the dead, grabs himself a blunt steel baton. If you recall, Scorpion doesn't know how to do animal handling, so the only way we know how to get this horse to go home is to smack it in the ass with a wooden stick to make it go home. I know it's cruel, but the truth is, Boa can choose to leave at any second, and we won't be able to stop him. And don't worry, all we did was bruise his leg. Boa will be healed in under a day. After all, he's good Boa.
You're alright, boy.
I know I said we'd honor the Hastians by giving them an honest burial by the lake, but we're still stripping their clothes away. If any of these corpses get reanimated, the last thing I want is for them to have armor on. I mean, you know how RimWorld is. As the witching hour approaches, Hernan awakens, and we bid him farewell as he makes his exodus from our camp. I don't blame him for not wanting to stay here. I should mention that Maria has the same restrictions as Scorpion as far as research goes. She was an infantryman after all, not a survivalist, but a killer. Something that she luckily does very well. In the morning, we receive word that Hernan, the sole surviving Hastian, has left our land healthy, thus increasing our goodwill with the Hastia faction substantially. A word on Maria's belief system, by the way. Maria holds a particular female-centric faith that values loyalty and collectivism, called the Doctrine of Oneness. Ironic that a deserter values loyalty, but I'm sure she had her reasons. She is also only 22, perhaps she was newly conscripted. Also, Maria is still a city girl that still finds human corpses unsightly, so we'll leave a lot of the corpse handling to Scorpion. She also doesn't believe in any substance use unless medical in nature. This explains her terrible mental state, as she drank herself a beer earlier this morning in order to take the edge off of yesterday's insane series of events. Already this planet is getting to her head, meaning she will make a fine addition to Scorpion's adventures, especially when we take some time to uncover what intel she possesses as a deserter. As another trading caravan approaches, that strange eldritch calling from the early days of this entire journey has returned. The caravan itself doesn't have anything we want, so we sell them most of our surplus weaponry and clothing. And I know I just said earlier Scorpion would do the corpse handling, but then I thought about it and we could just, slowly break Maria's will down so she becomes indifferent like Scorpion. As day 28 approaches, a pack of snow leopards passes peacefully through our territory, migrating to lands beyond ours. And I can't help but wonder if we should do the same. In the early morning, we receive a distress call from another scavenger like us, a xenohuman phytokin named Cherry, who's being chased down by a shambler. A phytokin is essentially a plant-based xenohuman with genes specifically made to clean environments covered in waste and pollution. In other words, it's a plant human that actually prefers and thrives in completely polluted environments. Since our map is essentially freed of pollution, for now at least, Cherry won't be able to explore her full potential as a waste-cleaning phytokin. However, her natural agricultural skills are unmatched by any of us at Lake Mountain, so we will gladly accept her. Cherry arrives pretty far from the entrance to our camp. Let's see if she can make it before the shambler arrives. As Cherry makes her way to camp, manhunting guinea pigs from north of her position close in on her. Unfortunately, as I'm just now realizing, Cherry is incapable of combat. As Cherry runs for it, her pursuing shambler enters our territory. Shamblers are corpses reanimated by ancient mechanites, which also regenerate most of the corpse's limbs upon animating it. They don't want to eat your brains, they are simply mindless beings that feel no pain, and will do anything they can to kill you, like a bunch of Mr. X's walking around. Shamblers aren't capable of using weapons, though this corpse has a turret pack strapped to it, which is still online. After being mauled by guinea pigs, a scorpion makes his way towards Cherry. Also, behold the power of a shambler wearing armor. Wait till we start getting attacked by hordes of these things. In the morning hours of day 32, Maria shares her deserter intel with her new family. And to put it simply, the Orange Empire has a staging post which is used as an in-between when their kind travels between their territories. Our goal, should we choose to accept, is to raid the staging post and destroy its fuel repository, in exchange for deserter clout, infamy, and all other potential treasures that could be gained. All that being said, I'm not really interested in this venture. We're barely surviving as is. And speaking of surviving, let's do exactly that. In the later hours, Maria returns to the ancient danger and collects the relics hidden therein. We're going to avoid opening the cryosleep caskets though. This ancient danger already brought one pawn within inches of his life, no need to give it another. The ancient danger itself contains a one-time use psychic soothe pulsar, which produces an uplifting and morale boosting signal when activated, and a shard animal pulsar, another one-time use artifact that produces a signal which enrages all nearby wildlife to the point of becoming manhunters. This one could be especially useful in the event of an especially dangerous raid. On the morning of day 34, our latest tribal thinking session winds up being a monumental success. Ignore Cherry crawling on the ground, by the way, she's recovering from food poisoning. Anyway, this ritual winds up being so successful that we unlock agriculture and mining at the same time. We also attract a nearby wild woman to our colony, a 72-year-old woman named Royo, who has all-around decent stats, with excellent medical skills. A fine addition to Lake Mountain. With our newly acquired knowledge, Maria and our other best hands will begin mining into the mountain, and our skilled growers, like Cherry, will begin cultivating their first farm. Later on in the day, a neutral mercenary crash lands onto our territory. We'll save this merc and nurse him back to health, primarily in the hopes that he'll put in a good word for us. At least, that's what we hoped would happen. In the early hours of day 35, our mercenary patient mutates and dives straight for a sleeping scorpion. "30 slugs and buckshots later, the mutant drops. Can't have shit in RimWorld. There's never a dull moment on this territory. It seems we've only ever just scraped by, but, well, that changes in the next few days. See, we've spent all this time surviving. Now it's time we thrive." I'd like to do a brief recap on the last several days. First, I'd like to introduce Hay House, who was formerly a raiding Yeetikin that we gunned down, imprisoned, and then peacefully recruited to Lake Mountain, mainly due to his superb stats. Royo, our old wise woman, had to amputate Hay House's arm due to an infection, so my man basically owes his life to Royo. Edikins, by the way, are the descendants of colonists who were genetically modified to thrive in cold climates, and are essentially the average of a Bigfoot and a Wookiee. They heal slow, they move around faster without clothes on, mind you, they're covered in fur, and have even evolved an animalistic war cry that causes nearby animals to go manhunter feral for a brief period. And, you know, everything else that happened, we built a house, unlocked early stage farming and the like. Anyway, I spot a large herd of muffalo that looked like dinner to me, and for some dumb reason, I thought, screw it, I'll send Scorpion out on the range to go hunt some muffalo. There's only a 10% chance they'll go manhunter, so surely nothing bad would happen, right? Well, that's what I get for thinking. But, I don't know, Scorpion might as well have plot armor at this point, so I think he'll be fine. As Scorpion starts getting trampled, he hits the deck and does his best impression of a corpse, while Maria, his newfound love, starts taking position by our outer gates. While I'd normally wait for the muffalo herd to chill out, our colony is in a never-ending food crisis. Nothing too serious, just the usual growing pains of sustaining such a large group of people who, you know, only recently learned how to sow crops. And besides, I like shooting stuff. If you look closely, there's actually a ditch moat running alongside the outer perimeter of our walls. And as you can see, that ditch moat is doing these muffalo no favors. The day is spent cooking up our influx of muffalo meat, growing crops, nothing crazy. We're basically going to avoid any major moves until we get our food production online, which should happen rather quickly, assuming nothing bad happens. Funny enough, in the evening hours, a loose, though domesticated male gorilla enters our territory and decides to call it home. So, yeah, we got a friggin' gorilla named Gladstone now. Welcome to Lake Mountain. We'll definitely have to train him up after we research hunting and animal husbandry. In the early hours of day 54, Scorpion becomes infected by muscle parasites. Parasites which aren't typically deadly, though Scorpion's ability to move, talk, eat, and manipulate his environment is now severely affected. So with that in mind, I decided to grow some medicinal fungus in the dark, dank corners of our supply room. I promise they're not the fun kind of mushrooms. The only narcotic we can grow as of right now is tobacco, and even then we still need to research rudimentary drugs to grow any other drug or to roll the tobacco into cigarettes. That being said, we do still grow tobacco since it should fetch a good price on its own. Luckily, our latest tribal thinking session unlocks prototype furniture, allowing us to make a majority of the early stage furniture like chairs and beds, though at the cost of more time and resources to create them. Unfortunately, as I spend time deciding what to build, an old enemy returns. A black hive mound forms on the far side of our map, and the accompanying mammoth worm makes its way towards us. While Scorpion and Maria take position against the approaching mammoth worm, Randy Random blesses us with one of my favorite quest opportunities. We detected an ancient mechanoid complex. There's no time limit to this quest, it just involves exploring and raiding an abandoned robotics factory in search of the mechanoid corpse hidden therein. If we can reach this corpse, we can extract its mech link from its brain and install it to, for example, Scorpion, thus granting him the ability to, well, make a friggin' robot army, to say the least. And to make things better, the base is within a day's ride of Lake Mountain. Now, with all that being said, don't expect us to go seeking that mech link anytime soon. We don't even have the research to construct most of these advanced components and builds necessary to make the things for the mech link. I don't know. Unless you really want me to go raid the mech link ahead of time, I don't know. Let me know. Anyway, we have a mammoth worm to kill. By the way, if you're still here and you've been keeping up with the tale of Scorpion, I just wanted to say thank you. And bonus points if you've been here since the beginning. I know the quality is all over the place in the series, and I'm occasionally experimental when it comes to some of my editing, so the fact that you're still here and sticking through it is just really cool to me. Again, thanks for being here. Anyway, that bullshit aside, the most eventful part of Day 55 is Hay House accidentally shooting Maria twice while she was killing manhunting rabbits, in a situation that I could have handled better all around, but oh well. The only highlights of Day 56 involves creating butcher tools for our butchering table to increase work speed and output, and the usual tribal thinking gathering session, whatever, the tribal research sessions. The next day, Day 57, our lethal lovers Scorpion and Maria fight off a couple of pigskin raiders that crash in and outside of our mountain border. I also draft up some tents and teepees in hopes of turning our little shelter into an inn that visitors can reside in and pay us to stay in, thus leaving our own colonists camping outside. To be honest, I thought the tent and teepee aesthetic looked cool. Also, I completely forgot about the black hive that sent that mammoth worm after us, which was, luckily, thankfully, destroyed by some unknown third party. So I have Hay House at midnight of day 58 gather the remaining black hive jelly. In the morning hours of day 58, we rescue another escape pod survivor from bleeding out. Though this time we're gonna leave her locked away, lest we forget what happened with the last person we tried helping. Sure enough, the colonist we rescued mutates and turns into an abomination. However, while trying to figure out how to handle the situation, I realize it isn't actually trying to break out. It's just squirting blood everywhere. But aside from that, I kinda like her, and I think we'll keep her. Funny enough, while Maria guns down a man-hunting wolf, another drop pod containing, this time, a hostile raider crashes inside our mountain walls. It seems our place is just the go-to hotspot for when you want to crash land on this RimWorld. The survivor winds up being some 13-year-old belonging to a hostile Rough Outlander Union faction. Or he's another abomination. I guess we'll see. Also, this day's tribal research session winds up being almost entirely useless as far as EXP goes, so, after some consideration, perhaps now is the time that we begin to seek intelligence from elsewhere. With that in mind, we will now turn our attention to the strange signal that's been following Scorpion this entire time, and echo the signal back. During midnight of day 60, one RimWorld year since Scorpion crash-landed on this planet, the monolith arrives. We will begin taking steps to secure the surrounding area of the monolith immediately. Despite the sudden eldritch feeling of impending doom, Maria attempts to feed our starving prisoner. Luckily, nothing happens. Maria will also extract whatever knowledge she can from the young lad after feeding him. While this happens, another pigskin raid occurs. Pigskins, by the way. To put it simply, they eat a lot and regenerate organs, and can withstand some pretty serious damage, as you've probably noticed. I mean, they are just eating bullets. Shout out to Cherry for gunning down one of them while Scorpion is caught in melee. In the later hours, I decide to cut our raider prisoner loose. Things are only going to get more strange and dangerous around here, and there's a pretty substantial bonus for sending him back home, so there you go. That's one less mouth to feed, and if they want him back so bad, you could friggin' have him. I kind of wanted him to be an abomination, though, to be honest. In the morning after the arrival of the monolith and the one-year crash landing anniversary of Scorpion, we finally unlock the ability to create primitive furniture. Not complex furniture, just basic furniture. An hour after midnight of day 62, a cargo pod containing a whole-ass shovel falls nearby, which grants bonuses to cultivation and mining, the perfect tool for our dear phytokin, Cherry. I also decide to change our next research project towards crafting facilities for the time being. After we research this, we'll be able to create our own stoves, butcher tables, and art benches. I won't lie. These last several caravans that passed through here had pretty much nothing we wanted, or had wares that were too expensive. The latest caravan that arrives has made up for all that lost spending potential. What I really mean by that is, they are willing to buy all of our leftover pelts and furs, a ton of our rice, which we have more than enough of, all of our tainted apparel, and in exchange for all of this, we get some ritual masks, a ton of pemmican, a hen and a rooster, and finally a pig and a sow. We pretty much got ourselves a whole ass farm. We still don't have animal handling researched yet, so we'll have to rely on a swift kick in the ass to get our animals into our preferred area, lest they go wild and wander out of the map, or we turn them into dinner. During the witching hours, before the caravan leaves, they leave us some spare throwing shards and an excellent quality flame bow. I won't lie, having fire on command in the form of a bow sounds just like the venom to scorpion sting that I've been looking for. Nothing of note happens on day 64, aside from our dear lady pig Cassidy getting pregnant. At midnight of day 65, our old friends the sacrilege hunters have arrived with stuff that's just way too expensive. We can only afford a single female goat from them, which we buy for the free milk production. Our new goat makes her way to the range after the customary smack on the ass that all other animals receive upon joining our colony. Early sunrise then, we finally completed research for animal handling. So it turns out you don't have to punch your dog, you can just pet it. Now that we have animal handling unlocked, our master animal husbandrists, like Hay House, will begin training and interacting with our own animals. Hay House, meet Gladstone. Once we begin to create kibble, perhaps Hay House will begin to train Gladstone into doing all sorts of helpful tasks, from defense to rescuing downed colonists. At least, that's what I hoped. The gods seemingly spite us by giving Gladstone the friggin' plague. And to make things worse, Gladstone is seemingly refusing to lie down in a medical spot to get treatment. And while he does have strong immunity, the plague is staying one step ahead of Gladstone. Looks like we'll have to bonk him on the head to get him to lie down. Or at least, that's what I thought. Gladstone promptly beats the ever-living hell out of Scorpion for his transgressions against the mighty Gladstone. So while trying to figure out what to do with our plague-infested gorilla, I remembered that our friends, the sacrilege hunters, are still visiting our territory, and they actually offered to buy Gladstone. So with that in mind, we trade our plague-infested gorilla for the male goat to complement our female goat. Hopefully Gladstone doesn't go all 28 days later on them. The goat's name is Couscous, by the way. Pretty much nothing of note happens on day 66. Just for the sake of mentioning it, 99% of the time that I cut out is spent building, cooking, growing, and waiting for something terrible to happen. It seems the time that I spent cultivating more advanced crops and plants like cotton and hay pays off, as we passively unlock the research that allows us to grow more advanced plants, fun ones included like smoke leaf. The other notable part of day 67 is that our hen Sophia just laid 2 fertilized eggs. I was ready to write off day 68 as non-eventful until a pack of man-hunting pedigreed raptors showed up. I love and hate these things. They're basically raptors that have been Jurassic Parked into existence, then genetically enhanced and eugenically bred for Glimmerworld breeding competitions. Then one day some asshole crashed on this RimWorld with a couple of these raptors on board, and you can imagine how quickly they rose to the upper echelons of the food chain. I have a natural fear of these things, for they have been complete game enders for early tribal runs, just like this one. I mean, look how fast they are. Thank goodness for guns. Okay, I'm done hyping up these rabid raptors. I'll be real, any decent gun will take them down. That being said, we'll remain inside our walls and keep them alive for now. They'll offer us free protection in the event of a raid. A raid that comes in the early hours of day 70. Keep in mind that what you're about to see, just wonder how it would have played out had one of them not had their shotgun. Even though this raptor is just eating slugs, this guy still gets mauled nearly to death. And I won't lie, this guy with the shotgun and the sombrero is no friggin' joke. As noon approaches, Cassidy gives birth to her new piglet, Humphrey. You can't see him because Cassidy gave birth behind a pine tree. Soon after, our chicks hatch from their eggs as well. In the afternoon then, Maria becomes infected by sensory mechanites. These mechanites, in an attempt to enhance their host, increase Maria's overall motor control speed and efficiency by roughly 50%, though as a result her sensitivity to pain has increased just as much. The world feels infinitely more alive, and she's faster and better for it, but the pain is that much more exquisite. The next couple days are almost entirely uneventful. As day 73 comes to an end, and the gang is performing their research by fire, Scorpion is sent a vision of the monolith. Be patient, O Great One. I chose to interpret this completely meaningless eldritch calling as a call for blood. Luckily, there's a hostile pear farm within a day's ride of us. Blood for the monolith. Food for the belly of the faithful. I decided to send Scorpion and Hay House alongside Boa for this little expedition. Hay House believes in a certain raider ideology and has basically been living this entire time on the brink of mental breakdown because my boy has not raided in too damn long. Like, he just lives for raids. And funny enough, after we complete this raid, his depression basically vanishes and he winds up being one of our happiest cultists, if not for several days. 3 hours later, Scorpion and Hay House arrive at the farming camp. The camp itself is ran by two Neanderthals, which are basically xeno-humans that are made out of friggin' bricks, as you can see. Soon after, we secure the shipment of 300 ripe pears and immediately make our way back home. Meanwhile, Royo, our trusty old wise woman, collapses from being a 70-year-old woman with food poisoning. And just like that, we have our food situation solved for, like, a day. Also, our hen, Sophia, just laid a clutch of 5 friggin' eggs. Rather ominously, Cassidy gives birth to her new piglets immediately after containment of the monolith is completed. Past couple days are entirely uneventful, though in the early hours of day 79, I have Cherry gather some anima seeds from an anima sprout that appeared nearby our monolith. A gift, perhaps. Also, meet Cajun, a wild cat that just wandered into Lake Mountain and called it home. Additionally, some very exotic tea-coffee hybrid drinks crash onto our territory, beside the old yet unopened ancient tomb that once nearly claimed Scorpion's life. All of these kind gestures from Randy Random and or the Monolith are starting to scare me. Maria passes Cajun on her way to grab the drinks, by the way. Just thought that was cool. Alright, enough waiting. During the witching hours of day 80, Scorpion investigates the monolith directly. As Scorpion lays his hands on the surface of the monolith, he's met with a distant hum emanating from within. The surface, though still, crawls like worms. shapes appear in Scorpion's mind, and the monolith awakens. The revelation is made clear to Scorpion. This monolith is a doorway, just as this is made clear. An eerie fog known as the Grey Pall settles over the territory. Accompanying this strange fog is a death-like stench that causes all of our colonists to have a -8 or so mood penalty. Speaking of anomalies, the first couple appear later on at 7 a.m. in the form of wild harbinger trees. Strange trees made of seemingly organic material that are growing into something. If we leave corpses around them, their growth will advance substantially. This is the Entity Codex, by the way. Shamblers and flesh beasts are already on the Codex thanks to our past ventures that led us to this point. Despite the strange, our colonists will continue their great work. I'm having him build a big old, tavern inn thing. I don't know, I thought it looked cool. During the afternoon of Day 81, Maria is confronted by our first anomalous entity, a sight stealer. They're fast, clawed, and emit a psychic wave that makes them nearly invisible to the observing eye, at least until the time is ready for them to strike. Rather eerily, it stands out and stares at our lone Maria from afar, both waiting for the other to make a move. I should have been more careful and taken extra steps to ensure the sight stealer doesn't die, thus allowing us to capture and contain and research it, but Maria's a sharpshooter. What can you do about it? Later in the night, a whole friggin' pack of man-hunting platypi invade us, so I'll simply keep everybody inside for the time being. Oh, also to celebrate this turning of events, I increased the difficulty of Randy Random to his highest difficulty, Losing is Fun, I believe it's called, as a sort of celebration of the weirdness that has now entered our world. I made this change just before I started recording. That's my bad, I thought I was recording already. I decided to use our effort in killing these platypi into more internal affairs, from finishing our bridge building projects to making a proper fence enclosure for our farm animals. In the early hours of Day 84, a band of cultist hate chanters arrive at our territory. These cultists intended on gathering somewhere far away to produce a strange eldritch chant that could negatively impact our colony, but this time they appear right next to our monolith. I was going to stand back and watch what these cultists do, until one of them lassos our cat Cajun and kills her on the spot. During the attack, I have Maria and Hay House capture as many of the cultists as we can. One arm be damned, I'm starting to think the Haymaker was named after Hay House. Finally, as 8 a.m. rolls around and the rest of our colony begins to wake, Maria and Hay House have successfully captured 3 of the cultists for study. Luckily, the cultists that attacked us wielded several tools as weapons, from hammers to cleaving, butchering knives, which all provide bonuses to their respective works. So I'll have our cooks like Royo take the cleaver, and our builders like Hay House take the hammer. To fix our food shortage, I sent Scorpion and Boa to raid another hostile farming outpost. I decided to send Scorpion alone, mainly because Hay House has food poisoning, and the ladies just need to stay here and continue to defend the settlement. I decided to send Scorpion alone this time, just to have more defenders at our base, since all this weird stuff keeps happening. Little did Scorpion and I know at the time that this day would be the final day before catastrophe. In the morning of day 87, the mechanoids arrive. I don't want to spend too much time explaining what each of these mechanoid classes are, so understand this. Some are ranged, some are melee, some have lasers, others have flamethrowers or needle guns. We do have the firepower to put up somewhat of a fight in close range, but that's the issue here. We're confined to close range. Just so I can put my full attention to this, I have Scorpion set up an encampment for the time being. He won't go anywhere, he'll just passively heal and keep himself fed and rested. With this in mind, as the mechanoids prepare for their attack, everybody here is leaving to meet Scorpion at said encampment. Say goodbye to Lake Mountain. Well, that's what I hoped, at least. Unfortunately, we have less time than I thought, and the mechanoids begin their siege while the caravan is forming. And they close the gap quickly. We have to stand and fight. The first engagement is devastating, as one of the mechanoids sets Maria on fire and scorches Hay House, both of them being our greatest shots, Maria being our best shot of all. For whatever reason, Maria's dumb AI makes her run indoors while it's raining, despite her being on fire. Luckily, everyone is able to reach Maria before our perimeter wall is breached. Royo takes Maria's Glimmerworld medicine and uses it on a now unconscious Maria. The pain shock got to her. Meanwhile, Cherry and a mildly burnt Hay House distract the mechanoids by maintaining fire. Royo takes the old trusty chain shotgun that Maria had to defend herself. Then she rushes back inside. Good thing we got away, because the slower bulk of the mechanoid force has just finished brutalizing our prisoners. At this point, I'm starting to lose hope. Without Maria, their best shooter, Lake Mountain might as well be lost, and there's certainly nothing Scorpion could do in a direct engagement. For now, I have Scorpion remain encamped, waiting for a potential time to return and perhaps help out. Okay, this next move, you can roast me for. My primitive monkey brain saw all 3 of these mechanoids bundled up and was like, ah, hell yeah, let's throw fire at him. And it misses anyway. As Royo drags Maria to safety, Cherry keeps firing on the breaching mechanoids while Hay House, like an absolute Chad, is beating them down and holding them back with his heavy SMG in melee, and like he is just laying them out. Again, one arm be damned. I try to kill the Centurion that Hay House knocked out, but that kind of firepower is doing virtually nothing to damage it. Meanwhile, the other mechanoids start destroying our new home. Hay House, after sustaining burns, needles, and bullets, has only 6 hours left to live. As our colonists fall back, one of the sniper mechanoids known as a Lancer begins firing on them. Cherry catches a bullet in the gut, and Hay House's lung collapses from being shot, and he dies a hero and a legend. Soon after, Cherry meets the same fate. That Lancer just straight up pulled a double kill on us. It's only Royo and a crippled Maria now. Royo will keep making as much distance as possible from the invading mechanoids. Despite this, the Scorcher seemingly returns to finish the job with that laser it has. I bait it into following us close enough to meet some real firepower. Then, like an absolute boss, Royo casts herself into the lake and makes her stand against all of the approaching mechanoids. Maria crawling away all the while. With only 13 hours of life left within her, Royo marches right up to the pikemen firing at her since they're virtually helpless in close range. Amazing. Simply amazing. At this point, both Maria and Royo are starving. The remaining mechanoids are essentially guarding the only way in and out of the valley. One of them, though slowly, continues their approach towards Royo and Maria. Neither of them have any food left, and the only berry bush within immediate reach fails as a botched harvest. The starvation continues, and our dear pig Cassidy is the only source of food in reach. Unfortunately, this move gets Royo spotted by a legionary mechanoid. We can either sit here and let it kill our starving Royo and Maria, or she can make an attempt to close the gap between the two. Unfortunately, the first shot the legionary gets on Royo is a shot straight to the head. She collapses, unconscious and bleeding out soon after. Then, something happens that I'm admittedly not too happy about. Before we permanently lose Lake Mountain forever, the Man in Black event occurs, meaning a wild man or a Man in Black enters your colony to give it one final chance before having to call it GG's. I'm gonna be real, I hate this event in particular, and I should have disabled it in hindsight. While I appreciate the kind gesture of the game throwing Lake Mountain a favor after completely wrecking it, the Man in Black event to me is just a really contrived cop-out. Like, the only reason this colonist exists is because of a fixed event that's guaranteed to occur. Just straight up Deus Ex Machina. So all that to say, and you can hate me for this, I'm basically pretending this dude isn't even here. I don't want your mercy, Randy Random. I didn't hear no bail. We'll just give this guy a gun and let him go crazy with it. Now, there is one thing that this new colonist presence provides, and that's a chance for me to sit back and remember my honor. Maria saved Scorpion's life. It's time for Scorpion to pay back the favor. They are in love, after all. Unfortunately, though Scorpion does make it back to the colony, he doesn't reach Royo in time. Actually, like, by the time I click on her, she only had seconds left to live. As Scorpion brings Maria to safety, who's vomited all of her food from food poisoning and starving out, the incident that occurs next, I can only describe it as poetry. A large ship crash event occurs. First comes the reactor.
Who spends
Oh,
its entire runtime
no.
waiting for the events of Joker
It's
1.
landing here?
Yeah, analysis of Joker 2 would be...
Oh, no! Scorpion drags his lover to our former prison and monolith room, which is just outside the radiation zone. We have no food anywhere near, aside from some fertilized desert ave eggs. Basically just big old bird eggs. Sorry, Maria, looks like you're not done, barely surviving by being force-fed raw food. Meanwhile, our forced plot device is boiling to death from radiation. I did not do this on purpose, I swear, I just wasn't paying attention. Alright, you know what? I'll save White. I'm not letting him die like this. The next couple hours involve Scorpion healing all of Maria's burns, both eating raw eggs to stave off the hunger pains, and watching Lake Mountain disappear under piles of destruction. While Scorpion gathers berries and mushrooms to eat, Maria finally regains her ability to walk. As the two rest outside of their lost home, our old friends the Sacroleg Hunters return, and they're wandering right into our territory, which is now a radioactive sinkhole. Scorpion and Maria will take some time to forage for some food, and the two brace themselves to seek new lands beyond the Lake Mountain. Their destination? Why, the site of the mechanoid corpse that we were made aware of at the very beginning of this video. That, my friend, is the tale of the rise and fall of Lake Mountain. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for Season 2 of Scorpion's Chronicle, which I'm currently compiling right now. Heads up, I'm also working on an AMA FAQ video for this channel as well, so do leave your questions in the comments below. I'm currently in the process of moving, so I haven't had time to play and record more RimWorld content,
so I instead focused on compiling the story thus far. I'd like to thank the ultra-talented artist VIZSIER, who drew Scorpion in the likeness of Keanu Reeves, which looks friggin' incredible. You can find VIZSIER's info in the description below. And I'd of course also like to thank you, my patrons, as always. Y'all are making dreams come true. Stay tuned, and Godspeed, Scorpion.